Warning: the Dub Talk podcast contains strong language and content that may not be suitable for younger audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Also, there is a strong possibility that spoilers will be discussed for Bloom Into YUU, so please be careful if you have yet to watch and don't wish to be spoiled yet. And finally, the views and opinions expressed are that of the individual participants and do not reflect upon the Dub Talk podcast as a whole. And if Senpai should, perchance, happen to notice you and start a lesbian love relationship with you, just know that you're in good company because I am also in one as well. This is Bloom Into YUU. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Greetings, new members of the Dub Talk student body. The seasons have changed, the leaves are in bloom, or they would be if it wasn't cold as hell right now, but for the sake of the scenario, the leaves are in bloom, and there is so much love to give. From all of us, to all of you, to everyone you know. Love is love, and whoever you find yourself falling in love with, or even if you don't have any desire or ability to fall in love, just know this: you are valid, important, and regardless, we love you and thank you so very much for tuning in today. And today's meeting, we're going to be discussing the Girls Love anime by Studio TROYCA and author Neo Nakatani, Bloom Into YUU. I am your student council president, Andrew, aka Classy Spartan. Joining me today are my fellow student council members, Jet.
Hello.
Noah Clue.
I'm just here for the extracurricular points.
And Megan.
Wait a minute, who let you be president? I didn't vote for this. I voted for our one true Lord and Savior, Gritty.
Okay, Megan, you can't see me. You cannot see me right now, but there are daggers being fired through my microphone, through the internet, over websites, all the way over to you right now for just that one comment. You couldn't have one peaceful, single conversation throughout one episode. One goddamn episode.
I'm kind of sort of glad we just got it out of the way.
Yep, that's it. I'm just getting it out of my system because there's no way I can actually be an awful gremlin this episode.
Thank goodness.
Alright, but yeah, today we're talking...
I'm glad. For full disclaimer, I have no animosity towards Gritty whatsoever. It's just fun to pick on.
All I know is this: it was either the Gritty joke or making a joke about licking lilies and bears.
Yeah, I am so glad you went with the classier option of those two.
Look, there's a whole lot of flower imagery going on in this show, so that would have been valid too. But what is Bloom Into YUU about, you ask?
It's the sequel to Violet Evergarden, right? Like, it's another gardening show. It's entirely about flowers. Like, we need to know how to grow crops in a post-apocalyptic world where there's no functioning economy.
Okay, Noah,
cut me off anytime here.
Noah, you're going to go get that giant stack of papers from the teacher's lounge while I do the synopsis.
Yes, master. Okay, here we go. Oh god, these go back all the way to 1923. Oh god.
Anyways, to summarize, Bloom Into YUU, Yu Koito has always loved shoujo manga, and awaits the day she gets a love confession that sends her heart aflutter with bubbles and blushes, and yet, when a junior high classmate confesses his feelings to her, she feels nothing. Disappointed and confused, Yu enter high school, still unsure how to respond. That's when Yu sees the beautiful student council president, Toko Nanami, who turns down a suitor with such maturity that she's inspired to ask her for her help. But when the next person to confess to Yu is Nanami herself, has her shoujo romance finally begun? So, quick little thoughts. What have you been thinking of this show so far?
Finally, a Yuri show that isn't really fetishistic.
As someone who really loves shows with like a lot of visual imagery that have like deeper meaning, like Utena and Ouran High School Host Club, this thing is my crack, and I am so digging it.
Oh god, I'm so in love with it.
I've been really enjoying it. I put off watching it for a while for some inexplicable reason that I don't know why, but yeah, it's been very delightful to watch so far.
I've been looking forward to this particular anime because I knew about its reputation and that it was like a very highly acclaimed Yuri series.
Thanks,
and...
Scott and Double.
Oh god, yeah, they've been hyping that up. Bless you guys. But yeah, the last one I watched was Citrus, which look, I enjoyed Citrus. And there's things about it I like, but let's not sit here and pretend that isn't definitely its fair share of trashy goodness in and of itself. So, I heard about this one's reputation, and I was very much looking forward to it. And I'd say it is about what I expected, but it has surprised me in several different ways, both in regards to the visual splendor on display with the direction and the aesthetic of this show visually, as well as a lot of the character writing, several of which have actually surprised the hell out of me.
This show got a dub? Are you telling me that a Yuri shoujo show got a dub for English audiences?
But Sentai never dubs anything.
But they did,
Wild
and
the Strong
Sentai
Man.
Filmworks was quite nice to give us a dub. But I say our first discussion will be about the show's ADR director and scriptwriter. Ladies and gentlemen, did we have any predictions for this particular show?
I did.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Megan, who did you predict?
So, at the time when I made predictions, I didn't know this, and I think, Andrew, you actually found this out at Anime NYC, if I'm correct? About Sentai setups of how many booths they have in their scheduling. Like, I don't know.
This was not a particular thing I found out. I just remember seeing somewhere that somebody said they have 3 in-house studios.
Okay, cool. So, my thing is this. I didn't expect them to double up any of the directors that they have, like Funimation would. So, I was thinking I was going to put one person, and I didn't put him because he was already working on another show. Despite should have having put this person, because Jesus Christ, Megan, you're an idiot. But I did put John Swayze because he had not been directing anything in the fall season yet. Because Kyle Colby Jones was still on Mr. Tonegawa. This other person was on another show that we're going to cover soon. And then Shannon Reed ended up getting on... Yeah, whatever. I picked John Swayze, but for writer I had 2 people, which was Marta Bechtel and Alicia Bull.
Interesting. Noah?
Yeah. Even though I knew that he was directing on Mr. Tonegawa, I had to go for the default and say Kyle Colby Jones is the director. Probably because I was looking through some past credits for, like, what's a recent Sentai romance show that kind of subverted some expectations. He did the directing on My Love Story, and I was like, you know what? Even though he's doing one show right now, which is being simul-dubbed, I have no doubt that his superpowers would allow him to do 2 shows in once, so that was my just fill it in to have a prediction. But I couldn't make a prediction for scriptwriter because I was unfortunately spoiled to what that was thanks to the magical glowing rectangle that is Twitter before I was even able to make a prediction on that regard. So I have a big empty square in that section for mine.
Twitter is very much willing to tell you a lot of things very quick and very suddenly, for sure.
It is, and I don't blame anyone for doing that because, I mean, people want to talk about the new hot stuff going on, but there's like a small window that I am not allowed to know anything before I make predictions, and I just couldn't get it in that window.
Sometimes I just don't even try to keep up anymore. Sometimes I do what I gotta do. Anyways, as for who is indeed writing and directing this particular show, the ADR director for Bloom Into YUU is one Mr. David Wald.
God, I should have fucking picked him!
Oh, Thunder Daddy, please show me your Bloom Into YUU.
Noah!
Look, we've had so many nicknames for David Wald on this show right now. Like, take your pick. Come on, take your pick.
I just call him God.
Speaking of close to godliness, serving as his assistant ADR director as well as the show's ADR scriptwriter is one Marissa Lenti. You will know David Wald's directorial work from such series like Aura, Koga Mariuin's Lost War, Hitoriji Mete, My Hero, and Tada Never Falls in Love.
My Hero Academia!
My Hero Academia. That is very much his canon name, and I accept it full-heartedly. As for Marissa, she has directed such projects such as Beat X, Non-Baka, and This Boy is a Professional Wizard. She is also written for such projects as Arm Girl, Machiavellism, Tada Never Falls in Love, and This Boy Suffers from Crystallization. I hope that boy's going to be okay.
We met him at A-Fest. He seemed perfectly fine.
I'm glad. All right.
I thought the Land of the Illustrious dub hadn't come out yet.
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up, Noah!
Look, you gotta make your
you give me shit for the gritty joke.
I promise
motherfucker.
I will make no more bad puns throughout this entire episode.
That's a lie. That's a fucking lie.
I'm looking into the future, and there will not be a single more pun in my audio for the rest of this.
That's not fair. You're editing this episode. You can take all the puns out, you little cheater.
Yes, I can. And you know what you can do about it? Nothing!
Suck it.
Here's what I can do. I can crack that whip so you guys let me talk. Anyways, Jet, would you like to start us off about what you thought with the direction and script writing of...
Sure. So the only thing I've really seen from David Wald on the direction front was the movie Aura, and that was from a pretty good while back, so I don't really remember much other than thinking it sounded pretty decent, I guess. So I wasn't like totally sure what to expect going into this, but I've been pretty impressed with the direction so far. There's a very natural tone to the performances that, goes pretty well with the laid-back energy of the show, and since Sentai dubs are fairly good at that sort of thing, it's been really pleasant to listen to, aside from the occasional stilted line read or something like that. Script-wise, I don't have a whole ton to say since I've just kind of been watching the show dubbed and I never really got around to the subtrack for a more in-depth comparison. But aside from a couple of bits to, make the dialogue between characters sound more like things actual teenagers would say, there wasn't really anything here that gave the impression this wasn't going for like a fairly straight translation, and that's pretty good since, when you're dealing with this kind of subject matter in particular, saying on script is pretty much always a good idea. So, it's hard to say if this show will, stick the landing in the end, but so far, I've really been enjoying it, and this is probably the best first impression I've had with a Sentai dub all year. So, kudos to David Wald and Marissa Lenti.
Alrighty. Megan, the floor is yours.
Cool. Well, the floor is mine. I'm digging through someone's Twitter for some information about this.
Okay, I know exactly which one you're going through.
So, I'm going to talk first about the fact that one of the things I'm really happy that has been going on is Sentai, especially over anybody who isn't an independent house themselves, or a newly established thing, like, hi Kuma Holdings! Also, hi Kocha-sound, even though you went through, Media Blasters, because it has been a really weird year, because Noah and I happened to be on the first time this show actually handled an LGBT anime. Like, that was explicitly, like, for that genre. I'm not counting Yuri on Ice, because, no offense, when we watched Yuri on Ice, none of us knew that it was going full gay. Like,
we probably should have guessed just from the director to begin with.
But impressions are a thing, and like I said, like, by the way, spoiler alert, when we recorded Yuri on Ice, we had no idea about the engagement thing or the stripping thing.
Episode
that
10
was
had
a
not
joke.
aired yet. That was
it was like 2 weeks after we recorded that. We had no fucking idea. I don't think we even... No, it was... No. We didn't even watch them kiss in episode 7 yet when we recorded that. So, like, we actively had no idea. But Noah and I were on the first time we actually covered like an explicitly LGBT show this year, and that was I Know Kusabi, which is a very different, not as wholesome animal.
I would not put that in the same the same part of the bookstore as Bloom Into YUU, if I were to be honest.
I'm grouping it under the general like BL girls love umbrella.
Right. It's just a very different
I'm not
genre. One is sci-fi. This is strictly school romance.
Romance. But the thing is that the main two characters are not in a heterosexual relationship. Mm-hmm. That's the point I'm making.
So how do they handle that?
I'm getting there. But Sentai is, of the major studios, excluding really Yuri on Ice, the first really big studio to actually take a crack at dubbing a lot of LGBT-related anime media. So I'm super impressed on that front, and they've really been putting David Wald at the forefront of the face of that. Obviously, with him dubbing, being the director of Hitori Jime My Hero, this, and I think he's going to be doing his passion project, which is getting a dub of the anime Love Stage out, which is another gay anime. But I think David Wald did a phenomenal job putting together this cast. I don't think I had any of the people who are a lead character like predicted in the right spot or in that lead prediction thing except for one, kind of. I thought that the dub is just incredibly beautiful. It's incredibly heartfelt. It's very natural sounding. It is just very, very great. And I think the biggest thing that helps it for me is actually the writing of the show. Marissa Lenti's writing has been fantastic. And one of the things is that she's very open about her adaptation process as a writer over Twitter, especially with not only this, but another show that she's writing. But one of the things I wanted to pull up is from, she has a thing called Fun with Adaptation. And this is from episode 2 of Bloom Into YUU.
Oh, now I know why you were digging.
Da-da-da-da. To avoid saying that feeling over and over, I had to include a few more metaphors for new love. The idea of feeling quote-unquote fireworks was something I clung on a lot to at YUU's age, so I was excited to implement it. So I think that she does a lot of things to help the show sound more natural, because sometimes, even in like heterosexual romance anime, like they get really repetitive. It's like, I feel like this for the first time, and it's very prosy and rosy, and sometimes you're like, okay, y'all in fucking high school, stop talking.
Time in forever.
Yeah, you're in high school, not a damn Disney movie.
Yeah.
Calm your titties. Like, I love Disney movies. I love shitty Disney. I love Disney movies. I'm not gonna. I cried at the fireworks show at Magic Kingdom like a baby. Then again, I also know every word to Out There from Hunchback, so fight me. But I think that's one of the things I like about Marissa Lenti's writing. And another thing is, like, I like that I'm not gonna lie that as somebody who's also LGBT, I really like when they have LGBT staff helming the LGBT show. Obviously, it's not a prerequisite that only the gay people can do the gay show.
Thank you.
Because there's obviously people who are not gay working on this.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a bit of a comfort to me. Just, it's like, wow, these are people who really are pushing for these types of stories to come out. And before this year, especially, like, the latter half of this year, obviously we had Citrus in the beginning of the year, but that depends on your view of Citrus. It's a messy situation with Citrus. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was like,
you could almost call it juicy.
No, Andrew. No, we were going for a peaceful,
I'm trying to be like really like insightful and heartfelt, and you're making punch.
which is never going to happen again for the rest of the episode. But you bring up a good point, Megan.
That's a lie. That's a lie.
It is a lie. I lie a lot. But I
That's
don't
a
lie
lie.
about the fact that when you have underrepresentation in media, the first instances of it aren't always like the most respectable. Like, look at African American representation in American media. Some of the earliest examples, obviously, are not ones that you want to remember.
I've seen The Jazz Singer.
You see Jazz Singer, you look at Looney
I've
Tunes
seen
cartoons.
The Jazz Singer.
So, yeah, so the respect...
I go to Disney. There's an entire ride still dedicated to that.
My point was... And bring it back to
But
the dub here.
Yeah, I'm bringing it back to the dub, specifically this year that there's been a lot more LGBT shows getting dubbed. Obviously, you had Citrus, you have Bloom Into YUU, Hitorijime My Hero, This Boy Suffers from Crystallization, This Boy's a Professional Wizard, I Know Kusabi, which is getting counted in the W's this year, that's why I keep mentioning it. But I really think that David and Marissa really bring a lot of heart to this show, which is really great, because this is a show that, I remember, like, before we started this episode, we were talking about, it's like, I told a bunch of people to watch it, and everybody was like, to be fair, you can't really tell anybody a hook to make them watch Bloom Into YUU. This isn't a show where it's like, hey, watch My Hero Academia, here's the hook, or, hey, watch Hitorijime My Hero, this is the hook, or, hey, watch Made in Abyss. Don't give them the hook. Watch them experience pain for themselves.
That's a good points, and I actually want to dovetail off of that in talking about the writing on this, especially what you were talking about with Marissa's usage of phrases, because I like shows where they use subtle phrases to convey a whole lot of emotions, where the words on the page may not mean a whole lot, but in the context of the show, they mean a whole lot more. And I want to point specifically to just one of the last lines in the first episode where TROYCA is, in the original sub, TROYCA says, I think I'm falling in love with you, to you. But in the dub, they changed that around to be, what was the exact wordage they used? I know I wrote it down somewhere. It was, they changed it to, I'm going to trim this part down here. But
I might be having that feeling too, or something like that.
Yeah, she changed it to, I may be having those feelings for you. Just to basically change it around so that it's not as blunt as the sub was, but it still conveys the exact same emotions, probably in a stronger way too, because like you said, Megan, people don't always say the exact explicit, hardcore things on their mind. They use turnaround and sleight of hand phrases to get the points across, and this show is just peppered with them all over the place. And I really like that also the writing has distinct personalities for each of the characters. Some of the characters speak in more formal ways, some of them are more slurred and like what high schoolers actually sound like, and they're all distinct from one another, which...
Dojima.
Yes.
Dojima, you douchebag.
Yes. There's some, it's not crass, like, this isn't Beck, Mongolian Chop Squad levels of high school crass, but it's definitely a step above the rose-tinted perception of high school, which is odd for a show that's so romance-centric. You'd think it would be more rose-tinted, but it's not. So to give praise to David also, he has distinct personalities for all of the direction, and you get a sense for the lives that these characters live outside of the show just based on the way that they bounce off of each other. They're directed to make it sound like they're actually speaking to one another, even though we know from how ADR works that none of these actors were actually speaking with one another in a booth. They all have to work off of each other's pre-recorded dialogue. So there's always a problem with that when you can't believe that the characters are actually speaking to each other, but I believe that they were throughout a good chunk of this show. And that's one last thing I wanted to point out. One last thing the show does really well, because there will be a lot of good things to talk about. There is a tendency in romance shows to make light or make comedy of situations that are not specifically about the romance. Like, characters will joke with each other, or there'll be some schadenfreude at a person's shortcomings when it's not specifically about the romance. Like, I can point to something like Your Lie in April did this a lot. There was a lot of picking on characters when it wasn't specifically about the romance. This show, in the direction, doesn't really do that. If there's a softer or quieter moment that's not specifically about the romance, they still play it straight. They don't play it for a laugh. They play it for just a quiet, contemplative slice of life moment, which really helps paint the believability of this romance that we get to. And we'll talk about this more when we get to key characters, but David's direction on this really seems to understand what it was like to fall in love for the first time. That first time when you were young and your heart started to flutter at the concept of loving someone more than you love yourself, to steal a phrase from Good Will Hunting. And that is something that permeates this entire show. So both David and Marissa, I don't know if like they are like the most pure people in the world who just still remember what that's like, but thank you for reminding us what that felt like.
That was very well said, Noah. Though I'm not sure the phrase "playing it straight" really applies to this particular show.
Fucking damn! You're gonna point that out every time we use the word "straight," aren't you?
Maybe. Anyways,
look, there's at least one hetero couple in here.
This is true. Anyways,
one of them probably wears heels.
Fair enough. Anyways, so giving my quick thoughts on these two, I've been very impressed with the script of the show, and I think Marissa does a very solid, natural job at conveying the emotions, especially in regards to you as a character, because there's a lot of time spent inside of her head and the genuine complications that go on with the fact that she... You okay?
No, not okay.
Is it... Okay.
I'm sorry, inside of her head made me laugh because I thought it was dirty.
It's okay, Megan. It's okay. Look, there is a support group for people who have dirty thoughts all the time. We'll get you help.
Ludes Anonymous.
We'll get you help. It's okay. Admitting you have a problem is the first step to recovery.
Anyways,
come on. You say that to me, but Andrew's literally right over there.
Look, he's beyond help, okay? Look, there are first-time addicts, and then there are hardcore drug dealers. I can't help him out. I love you,
know
Andrew.
What the biggest... God damn it.
If cuddling together at A-Fest did not, it was an indication, I love you.
Look, you say I dunk on Andrew all the time behind his back, but holy shit, you just put him in a trash can to his face.
It was a compliment.
Anyways.
Back to the wholesome.
I think the way Marissa describes a lot of Yuu's internal thoughts, and we see a lot of stuff going on inside of her mind, I think is really... Like, it feels like this is through, like, I can very much feel Marissa's own, like, personal, like, feelings in regards to a matter of, like, romance or the lack thereof. And I think a lot of the phrases, phrases and wording in general are really well thought out. And I think the script is very natural and the way these characters interact is very good. Direction is really good, and I'm just trying to say this as very simply as I can. I respect the hell out of David Wald, the work he does, and the things he has pushed in regards to things at Sentai. And I think this is technically our first time covering that, but I wanted to say I very much respect his work and admiration for pushing for these kinds of shows getting dubbed, and I think he does an exceptional job proving why they should be dubbed and how good they can sound in the English language. So hats off to the performances, hats off to the script and the adaptation, and I'm just glad this dub exists, and I wanted to say thank you very much, Marissa. Thank you very much, David. P.S. David is the sweetest motherfucker you will ever meet. Also, he gives really good hugs.
How do you
I'd
know
also
this?
like to point this out, but he's met him. I would like to point this out, but I don't know, and we can cut it and I can mention it there too. The reason I say that both the writer and the director are LGBT, Marissa Lenti came out on National Coming Out Day as a biromantic asexual herself. So, yay.
When was that? Like, I don't know what day National Coming Out Day is.
October 11th.
October 11th. Okay, so all of you listeners out there who might still be in the closet, make a note for October 11th, 2019.
Mm-hmm. If you feel comfortable doing it.
If you feel comfortable. I'm saying if you need a reason, if you need, like, an excuse, there's your excuse. So, speaking of excuses...
I'm not even sure that's a good segue.
It's not. Noah made it.
Let's go for the opposite of gay. Let's discuss Natsuki Sonomura, Koyomi Kano, and Akari Hyuga, These are 3 students who are friends of our main character. 2 of them go to the same high school, and one of which was somebody who went to the same middle school as them, but shows up for a girls' night out on town. I would like to say that, unlike several other characters in the show, these 3 students are not native Japanese. They are from a country called Heteromania. I knew as soon as you said no puns, I was saving that little stupid bit in the sidelines. There's no brakes on the pun train, Megan. I'm so...
What is that? No, it's if you've never not played Fire Emblem Fates,
What?
there's a really great thing about puns in it. It's like never not intend your pun. I have to find it because it's such a great line.
So
While you're doing
Andrew,
that,
I'm looking at a map here. So the way to get to what's it called again? Heteromania?
Heteromania, you take a wrong turn to Albuquerque.
Right,
and
but once you
go through a church.
Well, it's once you get on the highway, it's just straight ahead, right?
I hate you so much.
So, did we have any predictions for the characters of Akari, Koyomi, and Natsuki?
Yes, I have them. Also, B, I found the thing, and it says people who say no pun intended are cowards. Intend your puns, weaklings.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's it, then I'm gonna
Thank you,
fully
Fire
embrace that
Emblem.
tonight.
Thank you, Hana from Fire Emblem Fates.
Hold
So,
your horses, Noah.
I
Megan.
only had predictions for Akari and Koyomi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My predictions for Akari were Olivia Swayze or Lucy Christian. And my predictions for Koyomi were Christina Kelly or Stephanie Whittles. I don't know the repertoire of Sentai girls very well, so I essentially pulled up the cast list to review Starlight.
That's not a bad list to pull up. In fact, that's gonna be
It's a
relevant.
good cast!
Not a bad list at all. Noah, did you have a similar list?
No, I didn't have a similar list. I'll apologize that I didn't make a prediction for Natsuki because
She shows up in episode 4. You're forgiven.
because I only watched the first episode in sub before switching to dub for this podcast. So
Same!
sorry. Now, as for the 2 I did make predictions for, Akari, I put down Juliet Simmons because of her role as Kurumi in School Life. That wasn't quite the same kind of voice that Akari has in the Japanese. Kurumi had a bit of a higher voice, and Akari had a bit of a lower voice, but they have the same amount of energy. They've got the same swing a shovel and take no names kind of attitude, so that's where I put Juliet Simmons. I figured that she could put like a slightly lower voice for Akari for this role. And as for Koyumi, I put down... this is entirely... I'm going to thank Megan for this. This one is entirely Megan's fault. For Koyumi, I put down Brittany Karbowski solely because of her role as Reno in Tanaka.
Oh my god, this girl looks exactly like her, but older, that's why.
Yeah, because Reno is... If you haven't seen Tanaka-kun, Reno is like a half-eye shut kind of like badass you don't want to cross with. I know there's a Japanese term for this type of archetype, but they're the same basically archetypes between her and Koyumi in Bloom Into YUU. And so I was like, it's in my mind right now, so like, okay, I'll put Brittany in that one, even though in my head I'm thinking I'm used to Brittany as more like peppy characters, but she did a really good job as Reno, so I'm like, I'm sure she could do this too.
Alrighty. And Jet, you didn't have predictions for these, correct?
Nope.
Okay. And the actresses who are playing these characters, playing Natsuki is Margaret McDonald. Playing Koyomi is one Brittany Karbowski.
Woo!
And interestingly enough, playing Akari is Amber Lee Connors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Margaret McDonald, you've heard in as such characters as Rika Takanashi from Love Chunibyu and Other Delusions, Tamako, oh god, this fucking name, Tamako Kita Shirakawa from Tamako Market, Sachi Momoi from Maria Holic, and Harumi Taniguchi, aka The Best Girl from Citrus. Brittany Karbowski, you've heard play such characters as Papika from Flip Flappers, Sanai Dekamori from Chunibyu and Other Delusions, Kei Shindo from F, A Tale of Memories, and the Dorm Leader from Maria Holic.
Fuck you.
As for Amber Lee Connors, you may have heard her as such characters as Ryo Roland's Tachibana from Rio Rainbow Gate, Nozomi Kaminashi from Keijo, and Ayano Hanisaki from Hanabado, and of course, Mei Aihara from Citrus.
A double whammy there.
A double scoop of orange juice. Jet.
You don't scoop orange juice, you weirdo.
Look, you scooch the orange juice.
I don't know
Jet,
what
please.
they do in Jersey, but you don't scoop orange juice.
Jet, please tell this ignorant plebe how it's done in Jersey.
So, I'm not gonna lie, Natsuki didn't really leave any kind of serious impressions on me. I honestly kind of forgot she existed, so, I mean, I guess for, like, what it's worth, Mark McDonald sounded fine for, like, what I remembered of the character. It just didn't really say that to me. Sorry.
That's fair.
She
shows up quickly, but I just wanted to bring her up.
Okay. Going into the rest of you's friends, starting with Akari, I've heard Ever leak honors on a couple of other things, and, while they didn't really leave too much of a big impression on me either, I definitely enjoyed them, and, that's more or less how I feel here, too. Between Yu's two main friends.
Akari is the big basketball one. Koyomi is the literary girl.
Yeah. So Akari is like definitely the peppier one, and it and the level of enthusiasm just really kind of shows in Amber's voice whenever he's going on about her club activities or guys he's interested in, and like the closest we ever really we ever really get to seeing her like more serious side, I guess, is that bit in, I guess it was episode 4, where she gets rejected by her crush, and she tries to put on a brave face while she's hanging out with her friends, but you can kind of tell she's in pain, and well, it wasn't like a super melodramatic scene or anything. She definitely did give off the impression that Akari was struggling with it more than she let on, and I really like that scene. Especially, when it's, like, put in contrast with how Yu's kind of dealing with her own feelings at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, Brittany Karbowski, of course, I'm pretty familiar with, and, I also like her as Koyomi so far. I'm a lot more used to Brittany Karbowski, playing bubbly or shy characters whenever she does teenagers. So Koyomi is kind of like, it's a nice little change of pace. But she's also, no real stranger to playing quieter ones, and she certainly does a good job of making Koyomi come off as very, dry and tired in a way that a lot of teenagers kind of are, but, not to the point of coming off as, like, totally emotionless, which I appreciate. And, while she hasn't had a whole ton to do either, I really liked the revelation in episode 5 that she's actually into writing, and I really appreciate the way Brittany handled Koyomi's sense of embarrassment over, showing her work to Yu, since it came off as kind of awkward, but, in an offhanded way that kind of matched her character rather than, sounding like something super exaggerated. Anyway, I enjoyed these two ladies, and hopefully they'll get more to do soon. I'm done.
Alrighty. Megan.
So, Natsuki, I'll be really quick. Hi, Margaret McDonald, you're really, really nice. I've met you. But no, she sounded kind of tomboyish, which was really nice compared to the other two girls. But like Jet, she only made a small impression on me. She's in a very small part of episode 4. Koyomi is book girl, right?
Koyomi is book girl.
Okay, cool. I'm very happy I made somebody in this group watch Tanaka-kun with me. It's a good show.
Just like
it's a great show.
It's kind of hard to. It doesn't have a hook to it. You gotta just let
you
it
just
wash
have to
over you.
actually sit down and watch it. But it's so weird because essentially I'd like to think that Koyomi is just Tanaka's older sister who finally chilled out and stopped trying to murder Ota. She's I remember I think she's like Noah's secret little waifu because Noah loves secret bibliophiles.
I do love me some bibliophiles.
God damn.
We'll get to that in a bit.
God, I love it when that slut reads a book.
Hey, no. It's more like I love it when a good God, what was his name? I love it when we get a Nathaniel Hawthorne story, just kind of like takes you into your arms and just treats you like his bitch, you know? I love that so much.
See, the last time I watched something with Nathaniel Hawthorne in it, there was a flying whale ship.
Bungo is weird.
No, Megan. That's Herman Melville. That's Moby Dick. Nathaniel Hawthorne is the good Herman Melville.
I know, it's a joke about a show. You should watch it. Nathaniel Hawthorne has, like, what the fuck was Hawthorne's power? Also, he was voiced by Matthew Mercer.
Oh, wait, no, this is, you're talking about, God, what's it called? Not, the authors are all personified as cute boys, right?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
A couple of them are girls. Fuck off. No, so I thought that Brittany Karbowski did a really good job being really mellow as Koyomi and very, like, kind of like, yeah. Oh, I also like that she has the whole, like, this is too cute for me. I don't want it.
What about your keychain?
I like the color pink. No, you don't. Like, little on her shoulder. Buy the cute thing with the puppy. No, you're a hardcore bitch. Get the spikes. And then Akari, Amber Lee Connors is Akari, which I don't get to actually talk about Amber Lee Connors in a lot of things. I think, like, I've only talked about Amber Lee Connors on one show, and that was Galactic Heroes. So it's really nice to actually, like, get to talk about her for once. I thought she was great as Akari, especially the scene in episode 4 where she talks about getting rejected, and you can kind of hear it in her voice that she's holding back, wanting to cry about it because she's trying to be the big, strong, tough girl for her friends. And I also shout out to Marissa Lenti's writing on that, where you kind of narrates she's been rehearsing this over and over again type of thing, and then she's also like the sporty, like, hey girl, let's go play some basketball, I'm joining the team so I can get some dick. Sorry,
I'm basically her motivation. So
I mean, that's much more honorable than just following around all of the pro skaters just to get some skater D.
And look, it's
he
mentioned
was a
very
skater
brief.
boy. See you later, boy.
Also, it's mentioned very briefly, but Koyomi says she likes her men like 10 or 20 years older.
She does.
Oh, so Koyomi's that one girl from Princess Jellyfish.
Yeah, she's Leah Clark from Princess Jellyfish.
Princess Jellyfish.
But with even more emo.
All right. So all in
all, really good. Also, I shouldn't be making fun of Akari for her methods in trying to get a man because I watched Devilman Crybaby to try to get mine.
That is a good end to that segment.
I'm not allowed to laugh at this character. I was successful.
I was gonna ask, how did that plan go? How did that strategy work out for you, Megan?
I don't know, guys. How did it work out for me?
So Noah, please go on, sir.
Go over the characters that are. I thought these 3 were going to be a little more prominent. As of episode 5, they're not as prominent as the lead characters. The show seems to do the good ensemble cast thing where all of the secondary characters get a good amount of equal screen time, and it's turning into a pretty big cast. So for what they've got so far, I'm pretty satisfied with. Margaret McDonald's Natsuki so far has only gotten the one scene in episode 3 where they go out on the town, and she adds a nice contrast to the other 3 characters, to Akari, Koyomi, and YUU. So by that measure, because ensemble casts are the most boring when they all sound the same, Margaret sounds different enough from the other 3 that she, stands out enough from them. And there's, as I was saying with David's directing, there's a good sense of what her life must be like now that she's in a different school than 3 of her former friends. So I'm sure that if the show is so inclined to explore that a little bit more, we'll get a little bit more into it. But for what we got right now, Margaret did a good job. I want to talk about Akari's because I don't really think that Amber Lee Connors is that dynamic in this role. I'm going to be a little harsh on this, but I think it's mostly because the show is not supposed to be so melodramatic to the point that the characters sound super cartoonish. So even though we know Amber Lee Connors can be super dramatic and can also do a very over-the-top role in things she's done before, in this role, she's the most laid back and least standoutish I think I've heard her in a while, except in scenes where she gets super hyped up about wanting you to get involved in the sports club or talking about how awesome her team is doing. She has spurts of it, but for the most part, it's very laid back. It's like a very grounded casting role. So that's not really a bad thing, but it is a bit different than what I expected from this type of character, because every show of this ilk has this type of character, the tomboyish sports star character, and this one is a little more laid back than I'm used to. But still, it's what the show asked for, so Amber did exactly what she needed to. And I am so glad about Brittany getting cast as Koyumi, not just because I really like her in just about everything she does, but also, as Megan pointed out, I am a sucker for a good little bibliophile, and I knew I liked this character, and like, I didn't know why exactly. And then we got to episode 5, and she reveals she's been writing a novel this whole time, and I'm like, I knew there was a reason I like this character. I'm so... I don't know what is, but subconsciously, the show got me to like a character without even knowing why. But okay, as for the actual acting portion of it, Brittany has this natural rasp to her voice that is really distinct. Like, you can tell it's her in just about anything she does, from, like, way back in the early 2000s when she first started. But usually she uses it for, like, comedic moments. She kind of plays it up as a overly peppy kind of girl character, and at this point she uses her rasp to emphasize maturity, which is refreshing. She uses that rasp to convey a sense of, she may not be older than the other characters, but she's definitely wiser than the other characters. So contrast that with the Japanese, which was just kind of a typical stoic high school girl voice. Brittany is a lot different and a lot more enjoyable to listen to. She seems to favor complete words in her speaking patterns, and she has a lot of emotions that can get conveyed across just by the simple way she speaks. Again, I'll attribute that a lot to the writing, because Marissa's writing conveys a whole lot in very few words. So couple that with Brittany's excellent emotional acting, and you've got my favorite of the secondary characters in this entire cast.
Alrighty. Thank you very much. And like I said, she's 10 or 28. She's just a guy's 10 or 20 years older than her, so you do still have a chance just yet.
Excellent. I can't... Yes. Oh god, you just made me realize that I'm in my 20s.
Yeah, you're old.
To steal a line from Yuri on Ice, I'm gonna go crawl under a rock and die.
Anyways, as for these characters... I very much enjoyed, while it's a small part, I very much enjoyed Margaret McDonald's quick little thing as Natsuki. I love her casual banter with the other girls during the arcade montage scene when she's picking the movie, and it's very much like, even though she's not part of that group, you can very much tell she's part of their group still, regardless. And I think that's totally fair and fun. She's got a nice casual, like, tomboyish-ish girl thing going on for her, and... I'm also just glad to see Margaret McDonald somewhere in the show, because I recall seeing she was very happy being in a show like Citrus, which was going into like LGBT stuff, and even if it's a small bit part, I'm still glad to see her here regardless nonetheless. Mm-hmm. As for Koyomi, Brittany Karbowski is always a fun time anytime you get to see her do any of her stuff. And in this particular role, she's playing much more of the stoic, done with your shit kind of friend. And that's always very fun, especially in contrast to Akari, who is much taller and more energetic and hyperactive, and Koyomi is a lot shorter, quieter, and much more low-key in energy. Especially by the time you find out she's been working long and hard to write a novel, and she's straight up sleeping and passing out in her class. Like, you see a lot more of her snark and her banter when it comes to shooting the shit with Akari and teasing you, but also, I actually really like the little cute moment when she's trusting her friend to read her novel that she's been working her heart and soul into. I really felt a lot of that coming from Brittany Karbowski very sincerely. As for Amber Lee, I'm actually going to disagree with you on that, because I think Amber Lee is a very dynamic actress in a lot of the stuff she does, and she's very different anytime I get to see her do her stuff. This reminds me a lot of her as Ayano from Hanabado in a way, where her more casual demeanor is very friendly and whatnot, but when you see the revelation that the guy she's been confessing to is actually, like, he turned her down, and she sort of had to come up with a big speech to make peace with the fact that, I can't get this guy, what am I going to do with it? It's a very tender and heartbreaking moment, but one very much she tries to come off cheerful and positive regardless. And I think Amber Lee does a very stellar job conveying the emotion of that regardless, and I very much enjoyed it. Now, I think it's time for us to get very political for a second and talk about the members of the school's student body. That we are going to be talking about Kuze, the former student council president, who very much is not good at his job. Suguru Dojima, the other guy in this show, and Sayaka Saeki, who is basically Toko's +1 in regards to everything and anything in regards to the council. These three are... I'd say Sayaka is the most important of them, but Kuze and Dojima are still worth mentioning regardless. And I wanted to know if anybody had any predictions for these three at all.
I had one.
I do actually have predictions for Dojima and Sayaka.
Okay.
And I have one
Sorry,
for
also-
I have one for Sayaka. Dojima shows up only in episode 5, I think.
He shows up first in episode 4.
Yeah, 4. You're right.
I used Wikipedia to make the cast predictions.
That is not a credible source.
Look, I used it for character names.
Fair enough.
My prediction for Dojima, I had Adam Gibbs or Blake Shepard because I didn't know what he was gonna be like. So I just picked 2 dudes Sentai I liked. And for Sayaka, again, I whipped out a fucking copy of Review Starlight
Yay.
cast. So I had Patricia Duran or Lucy Christian.
Interesting.
Banana.
I forget Nice. I forget who Patricia Duran plays again.
She's the one with the baseball episode.
I have my list right
No,
somewhere.
no, she's
Wait.
not.
No, Patricia.
That's Maggie Flecknoway.
Wait, who's the one? Wait, who is she in that? Never mind. We'll get...
Yeah, we'll look.
I'll check this up in a second.
Hold
Noah,
on, I got it.
Yeah, my predictions was just for Sayaka. She shows up in episode 1, and her entire persona seems to be like the wingman to TROYCA, and she also seems to have a little more sass when I first see her. I think my first impressions of her were a little bit wrong when we find out a little bit more about her, but for that initial impression, I thought Stephanie Whittles would be a good voice, because Stephanie has a range of emotions, but the one that she conveys well in Erina from Food Wars is that sass. Maybe not as sassy as Erina, but if you like tone it down a little bit, then you get to the level that Sayaka needs to be, and that's why I put her in that role.
All right.
Also, I picked her because she's Hikari from Review Starlight.
Hikari, thank you. Okay. And playing our student council, playing Kuze is one Adam Gibbs. Playing Dojima is Greg Kote.
Woo woo!
And playing Sayaka is, I never know how to say this name, Shania Moore. Adam Gibbs you've heard as such characters as Yuki Anzai from Devil's Line, Ruki Mukami from Diabolic Lovers More Blood, Shinichi Izumi from Parasite the Maxim, and Hiromi Natse from Beyond the Boundary. Greg Kote you've heard as Taiko Minato from Doreku the Animation, Kenta Saijo from Typhoon Norida, Ryunosuke Tanaka from Haikyuu, and Mugi Awaya from Scumswish. And Shania you've heard as Kei Shido from School Live, Kanai Yajima from Aoharu Machine Gun, Kuon from Utaware Yumomo, The False Faces, and Tomoyo Kanzaki when supernatural battles become commonplace. I did not think about how I was going to say these, Jet. Please.
It's Utaware Mato or Underwater Ray Romano.
Underwater Ray Romano is a very good nickname. Thank you very much. Jet, if you would, please.
So, like Witnowski, I really didn't remember much from Kuze other than, hey, it's Adam Gibbs. I like Adam Gibbs' voice, and that was, like, kind of it for me.
That's a compliment in and of itself.
Yeah, like, he was there, and then he kind of wasn't, but again, not. I mean, it's always nice to hear Adam Gibbs and things, so that was nice, I guess. As for Greg Coat, I'm not like super familiar with him. And in addition to Dojima kind of, being in the background at the moment, he was probably the most like awkward sounding of the performances I've heard thus far, kinda. I got the impression he was trying to do, like a very kind of dude bro-ish voice for Dojima, and I think that like mostly works. But there are a few instances where it came off as like maybe like a little forced for me, and his voice kind of felt like maybe a little too deep for the character design. I mean, it's listenable, but it was probably like maybe the weak link for me here.
Okay.
As for Shade, I've never really heard of her before checking out this show, and I kind of half and half on her performance as Sayaka. I think she definitely plays Sayaka with this sense of grace that, it makes it easy to see why she's so well respected among her peers, while also carrying across, those occasional bits of envy that leak out concerning you and Toko's relationship. At the same time, though, it did feel like a little rough around the edges for me in a few instances, and there were at least a couple of places where I thought the performance maybe sounded a little bit flat, but I do think there's quite a bit of potential there. Both for the character and for the performance, so hopefully with any luck, we'll get to see that capitalized on. But for right now, I'm kind of a little bit mixed. And, yeah, I guess that's it.
That's totally fair, though of the little I know in future episodes, hopefully we'll get to see her shine a little more. Megan.
Adam Gibbs. He was in the show. Was it Adam or Scott?
It was Adam.
Okay, cool, because sometimes I keep getting them confused.
Scott was also in this show, just as a different guy.
Adam Gibbs, you were in this show for 5 seconds. Thanks, buddy. Thank you for your work. Collect your paycheck at the door. Or, watch out, Kyle's probably going to drag you into a session of Haikyuu. Greg Cote, I love Greg Cote. Greg Cote's a fun dude. I love him very much. He and I are odd friends with each other.
Those are the best kind of friendships.
We're weird Twitter buddies. No, Greg Cote did the, I was surprised to actually hear him do the kind of a more laid-back Tanaka dude bro voice, because if you've never seen Haikyuu's dub, this is very similar to his character Tanaka, who is... It is so much fun in that show. But I like that it's a little bit toned down, but I do agree with Jet that it does kind of stand out in a show that has a lot more mellowed performances from people. Trust me, I get to talk about my favorite Sentai actor soon, so yay! Yeah. And I'll talk about some of his performances and why I like him as that character in a bit. But Greg was good, but I will agree with Jet that he is a bit of the weakest link of the characters who haven't talked as much. And then Cheyenne as Sayaka, I'm also with Jet that I'm a little bit mixed on her. At times she is really good, and at times she is just I don't know what's going on, but I will follow you, and it's not weak, it's just maybe I'm not getting it yet because I don't get the character's motivations yet, and I don't think that they've become apparent by episode 5. It's obviously clear that she and Toko have Toko? Is it Toko or Toko?
It is Toko is what it should be.
Because there's a couple of slip-ups where they say Toka.
I'm also pretty sure I've heard Noah say Toka a couple times.
But, it's obviously clear that... I think they even make a joke about this at one point. It's oh, there goes the married couple. Which one do you think wears the pants? Because...
I love that line in episode 4.
The fact that they actually say which one of them wears the pants was very interesting, but I could...
It was like a drive-by line. It took me a second. It took me a split second to realize, wait, what? What are you talking about?
Honestly, it's weird because if you think about it, there are some, people who are in, It's weird because it's that line is funny to people, but it's at the same time, it's if you're actually a lesbian, people have asked you that, and it's kind of rude because it's I'm not speaking for all lesbians, but I've seen this argument before that a line, something oh, which one of you wears the pants in the relationship is, which one of you is the man?
Yeah.
It's which one? It's no, we're both girls. It's like, literally, it's like, which one of you wears the pants in the relationship? We both wear pants. Women wear pants, you fucks.
Right. The fact that it was delivered not by some of the one-off girl characters, but it actually delivered by, like, the asshole-ish high school boy characters.
Cool guys who are like, oh, no wonder. Like, I wonder if there's, like, that expectation of, oh, no wonder Toko keeps rejecting all of the guys. She's clearly with Sayaka, who's her wife. And it's just like, me and Steph kind of have a relationship that's really close like Toka and Sayaka. Obviously, Steph's not a lesbian. I'm in a relationship with a guy despite being bisexual. Like, surprise, I'm bi, you guys.
So Megan,
like,
who does wear the pants?
I wear I don't like skirts, okay? I hate skirts. Skirts are the worst.
Gotcha. So,
Okay.
Skirts are the worst. Ugh!
agreed.
Let people wear their clothes, but obviously it's delivered by, like, two dumb guys in the background, so of course it's just like... But obviously it's like, I want to know what's going on with this character's head, and I want to see where Cheyenne takes her. Because at this point, I don't think I know enough about the character to really have something to sink into the performance.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Because it's like, obviously there's a lot of emotionality there, but a lot of the waveringness in the performance, I don't know if it's because, hey, obviously I don't think Dave's a bad director. I think because this is a dubcast simuldub, how much does this actress know, or is she allowed to look ahead? Or is she growing into the character as she goes along with the show?
That's fair. So, all in all, like, not bad, but still a little mixed.
I want to see where the performance goes by the end of the show.
Okay. Thank you. Noah.
I'll have only brief thoughts to say about Kusei and Dojima, because Kusei is like a funny cameo. I feel like putting him in the show is kind of like it's like that funny celebrity cameo that you get, which livens up the show for a tiny little bit. I don't know if he's going to come back later, but it's kind of nice to see that even in the world of modern day high schools, that there's always that one guy who's not pulling his weight but still gets all of the credit. I'm glad they acknowledge that still exists. Dojima, for Greg Kote's Dojima, I don't really have any bad things to say about it, because like a bad performance to me, or like even a confusing performance, is one that doesn't fit with the character as they're written or animated. And Greg has this choppy speech pattern that, like Jet said, is kind of trying to emulate this dude bro mentality where, like, one of the first thing he says is, it's kind of nice that we got two hot babes on the student council. So tell me, are you Team Toko or the Sayaka squad? Which I appreciate as good writing as Marissa, like, getting the kind of ways that guys would spin that around to make it alliterate and nice and funny, because that's kind of what Dojima's character is all about. So I think Greg did it.
I forget what he calls the you one.
I think he just asks. I think he just asks Maki if you're more into you. I don't think he even gives her like a team name.
Joke's on you, asexual people exist, asshole.
That they do. Which that
more on that later.
That lends more depth to it when we get more to Maki's character. But yeah, Greg's doing what he needs to for this character. More specifically, it contrasts with the character the voice actor who plays Maki later, because they're both the only currently male characters on the current student council. So yeah, contrasting each other, and also being the unlikable guy who's kind of like the stand-in for, I'm assuming, the standard hetero guys that we have in this cast. He did what he was supposed to do well. Now, Sayaka is interesting. And hearing both Jet and Megan say that they're not quite sure what this character's deal is, I think says a lot about our expectations going into the show. Because Sayaka's character in most other shows would be one of two things. She would be either the third wheel character, who is, like, you know, the third girl in the group who doesn't quite belong, but still, and then feels the longing of her friendship leaving her as you kind of muscles her way in. Or she would be the token bitch character who is trying to break them up and is unlikable, and we're like, but we keep her around. Like, we keep her around in the show. Sayaka is neither of those things. She is a much more subdued, career-driven kind of person who we keep around because she is good at what she does. Like, in episode 2, I think it is, where Yu is chosen as the campaign manager for Toko as over Sayaka, and Sayaka's not really sure how to comprehend that. Her relationship with Toko doesn't really sour. They have to talk things out as mature high schoolers can, and by the end of it, they're back on speaking terms with each other as president and vice president, respectively. So Shanaya's portrayal of that is to give her a very refined, genteel speaking voice. It's almost the same pitch that Amber Lee Connors is using, but instead of where Amber is more hyped up and tomboyish, Shania is using it for a very upper, what's the word, like older classmate kind of voice who's like very career driven towards what her long-term goals are. And that refinedness keeps her from really seeming like she's too good for this world. Like, she's a friend that you keep around because she's a reliable kind of friend. So the performance on there is exactly what I thought it should be. It's got almost kind of like a Southwest dialect to it to contrast some of the other voices. So again, like that refined, keeping up appearances voice that she keeps to it throughout all times really helps to sell the grounded emotions of the show. Whereas, like, we're not supposed to laugh at her suffering, and we're not supposed to relate to anything bad she's doing, because she's not doing anything bad. It's just very grounded emotions that makes it more three-dimensional than we're used to.
So yeah, Kusei. Adam Gibbs is really good whenever he gets to do things. I like hearing him as this arrogant, like, oh, you guys can take care of this for me, right? And then watching Sayaka basically kind of being like, you realize your bitch ass hasn't done any work, right? It's like, you guys got it for me, right? Okay, thanks, bye. And then he leaves the show entirely.
See you guys, I'm going to college.
And then there's Dojima, which it was very, I will admit, I very much was amused by the particular, hey dude, yo, which one do you think is hot kind of tone. But it definitely was a very surprising juxtaposition, especially to like Maki's much more subdued tone of just him being like the, yo, look at all these hotties. I hope we see a little more about what Dojima is about, but all in all, I think in regards to that much more like nonchalant dude bro aesthetic he's got going for him, I think Greg Cote pulled it off pretty well. As for Sayaka, I wrote something as a joke because I realized her name is Sayaka. What is it with Sayaka's how they're always the bridesmaid but never the bride? You ever notice?
Boo! Boo!
Look,
I can't even boo you at this point. No, I can't do that.
Sayaka Miki deserved better!
In another timeline, she did. Probably.
In another timeline, she did, probably. That may or may not have ruined the whole point of Madoka Magica.
Can I please make a really dirty joke?
We can cut it.
You may go quickly.
Man, I'm really hoping that other timeline that Sayaka and her girlfriend really get on their knees at church and enjoy a good time together.
Thank you for that. Let's move on. Anyways,
tacos for Jesus.
Tacos for Jesus. Sayaka, Shania, however you say it. I think Sayaka's portrayal is very interesting. It's a lot more casual and older I don't know how words work. Casual and older sounding, but she's got a whole big old senpai vibe. Like, that's the way she presents herself, but you can always tell she's a lot more casual and older sounding in the way she carries herself. She's got that big ol' senpai vibe going for her strong, the way everybody sees her and sees her as trustworthy. She's basically the number 2. But it's interesting seeing her interact with Toko because you can tell she lets a lot more of like her personal childishness. Basically, she lets herself be a little more immature when she's getting casual and friendly with Toko. Maybe when she's getting a little jealous that Yu's running her campaign and she isn't, or
she had a speech all prepared and everything.
She wrote a speech and everything. Like, that must have been such like a dick move. Like, bless her heart for for helping you out regardless.
It's okay. I wrote our vows and everything.
God, she really did, didn't she? Anyways, I think you actually nailed it pretty well, Noah, where it's kind of like she would be in other shows. She would be the third wheel or the one trying to sabotage, and she really isn't either. So it's interesting to kind of see, like, what we expect Sayaka to be. She has yet to really shown what she is. But I think either way, Shania, like, I don't think it's perfect, but I definitely think she has been growing into this character, and I'm more than willing to see what she's capable of doing, as I know she's capable of making me feel things because she's K in School Live, and that made me feel many things.
Okay.
Anyways.
I get PTSD now.
I think it's time we move on to a little section I like to call Team Wingman. This is for two characters. This is for Rei Koto, which is Yu's older sister, and Seiji Maki, who is another member of the student body and is a first year like you, who actually witnesses Yu and Toko share a tender moment together and decides to keep that secret to himself. So, did anybody have predictions for these two characters?
I have one for Maki. That's it.
Okay.
My predictions for Maki were Bryson Biggis or Scott Gibbs. Both of them can do softer spoken boys. And when I read that this is a guy who can be listened to by girls pretty easily, those are the first two voices that popped into my head.
Totally.
And I'm very mad that I didn't pick who it is.
Totally fair. Playing the role of Big Sister Rei is our show's scriptwriter / assistant director, Marissa Lenti. And playing the part of Seiji Maki is Clint Bickham.
What?
Yay! I love Clint Bickham so much.
You may have heard Marissa as other characters such as Karita Goldschmidt from Rio Rainbow Gate, Momoko Hyakushiki from Nanbaka, Chiaki Hoshinomori from Gamers, and Alicia Florence in the upcoming Aria the Animation dub. Clint Bickham you've heard as such characters as Iki Kuragane from Chivalry of a Failed Knight, OD from Gatchaman Crowds, Mochizo Oji from Tamako Market, and Akihito Kanbara from Beyond the Boundary.
My boy.
Alright, Jet, would you like to start us off here?
So, honestly, I don't really have, like, a whole ton to say about Rei thus far. I mean, I like her character. It's, like, it's fairly... I mean, it's fairly interesting, and I like a lot of her interactions with you, but, I mean, I guess she hasn't really had, like, a whole super ton to do yet, so it hasn't left, like, a really gigantic impression on me, but I did like that whole little bit at the end of episode 5, where... where she got to interact with Toko a little bit, and she like gives her the recipe for the cheesecake. I thought that was kind of cute.
Oh, that was such a cute scene. I love it.
It's so sweet.
No, and then after when she sends her the cheesecake, she sends her the picture of her sister asleep on the floor, and Toko is just losing her garbage.
Big Sister has the goods.
She like if this was an AR show, there would be nosebleed action all over that girl.
Damn right.
Mm-hmm. Clint Bickham, of course, I'm very familiar with, and I really enjoyed his performance so far. He plays Maki as, very quiet and unassuming, which, mostly helps to make the character kind of blend into the background for the first couple of episodes. But that really pays off in spades when you find out that's actually very deliberate. Mm-hmm. Maki is the kind of guy who sees himself as, very much a background character, and mostly just wants to limit his level of involvement in other people's lives to kind of, just being supportive. And that reserved nature of his, it really came through very well in Clint's performance. And his delivery of that scene where Maki, just kind of imagines his life, where he's in a movie theater just watching other people do their own things on the screen. It really immediately just sold me to the character, and I really like that. I just really like that scene a whole lot.
I think it's a phenomenal scene. We'll definitely go more into that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I get the feeling that the series might, be doing something bigger with him later on, and I'm definitely very curious to see where that'll go. For the moment, I'm totally on board with this. I really like it.
Watch, it turns out that he's the supervillain all along.
Please no. Please no. That would break my goddamn heart.
I don't expect it at all. I just think it'd be funny.
No, that's what it's leading into, really. It's just all about, because he started in the student council as, a low-life member, but he's secretly planning his domination of the school.
It's like that one episode of Gumball when, the nicest kid actually has, an evil manifesto to take over the school.
It could be exactly like that, if this was that kind of show.
I'm sorry, goddammit, Fire Emblem, just take my goddamn wallet!
Please hold on to your wallet for a little while longer, Megan, and tell us what you thought about Rei and Maki.
I'm going to be really quick about Rei. Marissa Lenti as Rei was quite interesting. I thought that she was an interesting choice for her. I liked the kind of tone to her voice, the big sisterness, and all of that. I hope that she shows up more in the show because I think she was great. But let's talk about Rei. Let's talk about Maki. God, Maki is he's such a good boy, and shut up, I'm hormonal and emotional.
No, you're right. I'm just remembering back to, earlier in this week when you were talking about the characters, you were saying, Maki is such a good boy.
Earlier this morning. No, because I don't get to talk about Clint Bickham enough on this show, and he is legitimately one of my favorite actors at Sentai. I have not disliked him in anything, and trust me, it makes me so happy I get to talk about him in a Kyoto Animation show again very soon. But I think what really sold me on this is that, and Marissa was very adamant about getting to write Maki as a character, as Maki is essentially, for all intents and purposes, one of the very few asexual anime characters or aromantic anime characters there have ever been.
Explicitly in canon described as such.
As aromantic.
Yeah.
And as somebody who actually wavers in romanticism between bi and demi-romantic, which is another form of... being demisexual is another form of asexuality. It's... You only feel, sexual attraction... From what I understand, to people you have an incredibly deep emotional connection with, which is something that I feel like I like to open up a little bit. I have only actually been in 2 romantic relationships in my entire life. Mm-hmm. My first one lasted for 6 years, and when I was out of it, I did not feel any attraction to somebody, or I never felt super crazy. I only felt crazy attraction to 2 people, but they were both one person who rejected me and the other one who I'm obviously dating now. So Maki's story about how he doesn't see himself feeling that for other people and how Clint really played him was very touching and very, very calming and soothing, and almost it's weird to say you get a hug from someone's dub performance. Hear me out, I'm being metaphorical and, like I said, emotional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially for me, Akihiro Kambara as a character is very much more energetic than Maki. Another character that Clint Bickham plays that I've watched a little bit of, because we were actually surprised. Fun fact, before somebody who was supposed to do this episode had to bow out for a little while, the original, ladies' night, quote-unquote, because we knew that Gigi wasn't going to be doing an episode this season that wasn't a full review. The actual ladies' night for the season before it got switched to Maria was actually going to be Saritama, which has Clint Bickham playing a character who might as well be a sugar high. If you've never seen Suritama, I refuse to tell you the plot of Suritama.
Yeah,
because that show is best experience, blind as fuck.
I've only seen the OP of it, and I've been very attracted.
I'm not gonna lie. If you also watch it because I think it's one of those shows that's very soon to be anaplexed.
I'm soon to be anaplexed. That's
if you know what I'm saying. But back to Clint Bickham. He's honestly one of my favorite of the show, and I want Maki to show up more, and I want more of Maki's relationship with YUU, which I really appreciate on the sense that he does think that she's lying about being in love with Toko. One of my favorite deliveries, and I think everyone had it. Sounds fake, but okay.
It's basically just a scene where it's like, I don't have any feelings towards her, I don't care for her, and he's just like, sounds fake,
but okay. And he's just very nice about it. But one of the things I really enjoy about the show, actually, is the platonic friendship between both YUU and Maki as two young high schoolers, who are also two young high schoolers who a lot of people also theorize that YUU is ace, or YUU might be demisexual, and they come from a very mutual place, but on the opposite spectrums, where YUU is in denial of her feelings, but Maki has come to very much accept this side of himself since a young age. I mean, you obviously have the stuff when I think Sayaka asks him why he joined the student council. He's like, oh, well, I joined sports teams as a kid, but I never wanted to be the big athlete. And then you have the thing of the coach going, do you want to be the manager?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. And I just genuinely think that Clint put such a softness and an openness and a vulnerability to this character, and I could literally sit and gush about Clint Bickham for an hour and how he needs to be in more fucking anime. Like, please. Also, make more Haikyuu so he can go back to being Kenma. He really wants to go back to being Kenma. Kenma's another character that I think is kind of more in the Maki range of his voice if you wanted another, kind of like to branch off when you're like, I don't know about this. This is an actor I know doing this. It's like, oh, well, it's like, when people are worried about Monica playing an older character, it's like, oh, well, she's played Michiko before, and you're like, oh, okay.
So it used to be
that's
that
kind of my story.
It used to be that
you heard her.
Young Megan, when she was young, would used to write letters to Santa Claus asking for toys and other paraphernalia. But now that she's gotten a little bit older and wiser, she writes letters to Santa asking for Clint Bickham to be in more anime.
Just put him in more anime, fuckers!
No, she writes letters to Sentai Claus. You thought these puns were going to end, motherfucker?
God damn.
You thought these puns were going to stop, motherfucker?
I don't know whether to punch you or hug you. Let me do both. God damn. I have two hands for a reason.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Punch hug. Punch hug. Punch hug.
That was a good punch hug.
Oh, God.
Please continue.
Ugh.
They're making a list. They're checking it twice. They're gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Sentai Claus is coming to dub.
And give you free shipping.
No.
Only on orders that are over $75.
This is not a sponsored video to tell you that you can go to Sentai.com to purchase all of these great products for limited time only.
Excuse me, it's shop.sentaifilmworks.com.
I don't have the URL in front of me. What I do have in front of me are my notes about the two characters of Rei and Maki, which I should probably talk about instead.
Please do.
Rei is, Marissa Rei is, I'm glad that you asked to put her in this discussion, Andrew, because she's very adult. Like, she sounds very adult. Like, I had no inclinations that this was a actress who was supposed to be playing a high school student. She is supposed to be playing, I think she's supposed to be in college, isn't she?
Might be something like college age or something. I can buy that.
Okay, because, I mean, it's not uncommon for college students to still be commuting from home. That's not, like, an uncommon... It's not like in our society where as soon as you go to college, you're, like, some of us are expected to move out. So, Marissa's performance as Rei is really interesting in how her voice sounds, but also how she balances out the mature older sister persona with also the immaturity portion of it, like when she's clinging to her boyfriend saying, like, you can't have my hero sort of voice to her, where she most of the time she actually acts more immature than you does, which is not uncommon for some older sisters. I'm sure some of you out there have had older siblings who acted much more immature than yourself do. So yeah, so Ray's interesting, and I do like the scene where she takes she sends the recipe of the cheesecake, and then she sends the shot of the cheesecake, which is you sleeping, and that just made the end of the episode so much sweeter.
Double cheesecake, good stuff.
Double cheesecake all the way across my screen.
No, we're already dating this enough as it is.
That's when you watch a fan service anime.
Yeah, this is not a fan service show, although there is service for your eyeballs, which we'll talk about later when it comes to the direction. But as far
Sakuga, the most delicious meal.
It is delicious, but I'm going to talk about the subtler parts of that later that aren't even considered Sakuga. But Maki, let's talk about Maki here. So Clint Bickham's, I don't really know what in my head is Clint Bickham's normal speaking voice, because I've heard him in like a wide range of things, and he never sounds like the same thing. But in this show, he's got like this softer and reserved voice that's got a bit of a nerdy rasp to it, and I like the fact that, okay, it reminds me a lot of, you guys have seen shows where female voice actresses play young boys, right?
Yes.
I get the feeling that Clint is using the same vocal tics because the way he portrays Maki reminds me a lot about how some women will portray young boys, even because their voice just matches that. Like, obviously, Clint is a man and Maki is also a man, but it's that same sense of trying to like blur the age brackets that I don't hear a whole lot, and that's an interesting thing for Clint to pull off. So it just made Maki a lot more interesting to listen to. I thought he was going to be like a really mellow, softer, wimpy kind of voice that you get from like a lot of these isekai leads or harem lead characters is kind of what he was designed like, but he doesn't sound or act like that at all. So again, kind of like with Sayaka, we're subverting some expectations about what we expect these characters to act like just based on what they look like. So the only thing I could kind of negatively say about it is that there's a bit in episode 5 where Clint is like in the classroom, he's in the student council room with you, and like he doesn't quite get the hint that maybe I should leave so that you and Toko can be alone together, and then he has like this awkward I guess I should get going kind of voice to him that sounded more awkward than would, like it didn't sound intentionally awkward, it just sounded like bad reading awkward. But that's like a one-off thing. Other than that, he's pretty good at subverting my expectations about what Maki is supposed to be.
Alrighty. Ray, Marissa Lenti is a very interesting, distinct voice who I've heard a lot of range out of her, and like I said, it is very interesting getting to hear her play somebody who's technically more of an adult, but still has a lot of, like, the teenage heart that makes her similar to her sister, is that she is very much an older person, but she is not necessarily older in how she acts, in that, like, she has a boyfriend, but she's very bratty, and she teases her sister a lot. And I think one of the more interesting things that's very subtle is that there's this brief moment, I think in episode 3, when we're meeting the family, where there is, like, a distinction in regards to how the sister would react and how the dad would react. Is that they make a joke specifically about, like, is that your friend or is that your girlfriend or something? It's like, she's not my girlfriend, and then the dad is just like, oh, thank God, I don't think my heart could have taken it, which is like, in one sense, it's a small seed, but it's a very interesting, like, why would you be so object to that, man? What's up with that?
Like, we're not sure if it means that he objects to her having a partner at all, or the fact that she might be into girls at all.
While, on the other hand, you have Ray, who not only makes several quick jabs about, oh, is that your girlfriend or something, but straight up, flat out becomes the wingman to Toko, and is like, okay, I see what's up. She likes the cheesecake. You want the cheesecake? Here's the cheesecake. Here's my picture of sleep. Okay, thanks, bye.
I mean, you can tell that she's already scheming everything out when she says, well, I can't write down this recipe for you, But if you give me your contact information, then I could text it
Oh
to
no!
you.
Oh no! She's playing the long con, and I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I just, you have a cell phone, I have a cell phone. What's the odds of that?
Yeah. But yeah, I think Marissa's tone of voice is very much like, it is older, but it is very much childish and sincere at heart. And I love the conversation she has with you and the scene she has with Toko. As for Clint as Maki, this is really interesting because it's real. I really was not expecting this character to turn out the way he did. Is that he basically is, when the show starts, he's a huge fucking wallflower. And then you realize, episode 4, he's a huge fucking wallflower, but that's the whole point, is that he is a whole wallflower. And the fact that I really like the visual metaphor of living his life as the guy in a movie theater by himself, which is a very unique perspective of showing somebody who is like asexual or aromantic as somebody who is just in a theater by himself. But he does not hate it. He does not object to this. He's okay with this. The seat's comfortable. He can recline back. He's got all the snacks he wants. And he very much enjoys the show that he's watching.
I like that this show, like, I'm sorry to interject on your point.
It's fine.
I like that this show goes out of its way with Maki if, like, because there's also the theory of, oh, well, what if Maki ends up being, like, gay later? But I like that the show, if Maki is asexual, that Maki isn't shown as being confused or broken.
And the show actually does a really good job about actually showing that visually, because there's this one cliche in anime where the character who is confused is in the dark physically, and the character who is not is in the light. And they do that with Maki and Yu. There's a scene where they're walking down the road to their school. Maki is out in the light, but Yu is in shadow from the trees. And as they're talking, Yu actually steps out of the shadows into the light as she realizes more about how she's feeling for Toka.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
And that's also one of the other things, like, we could talk about it later, is, I think it's in, like, episode 2, where, Toko realizes her feelings, but you get the video distortions and the blackness of Maki. And also one of the other things I like is in that scene where when Maki says to you, oh, I saw you two being close to each other, how the shadows between them meld into the rumors of other people.
Yeah, what the show does... I'm sorry, I'll let you have the floor back in a second, Andrew, but this direction is really great because the worst kind of direction is visual bombardment. Like, look at something like Handshakers, where it's not special anymore because the distinct visual style is throughout the whole thing. But this show saves its special visual moments for when they have a really big impact.
As for Clint, I think he does a very good job being very, like, casual and laid back in regards to how he's talking, but also showing that he's just a lot more shy and reserved. But he is shown as being happy with himself and the way he interacts. It's almost like I almost joked that it's like he seems like he laughs sincerely. But I'm not used to that level of sincere laughter in this kind of show. That, like, when he had one laugh, I almost thought he was gonna be like, speaking of Fire Emblem, he reminds me of Henry from Fire Emblem in a sense. Like, I feel like there's going to be one moment where he's going to laugh and be like, ha ha ha, blood. I think he's got that kind of laugh to him. Which is not the fault of, like, the show or the actor or anything like that. It's just something where it's like, I feel like he's happy, but it's almost like he is very happy.
Henry's
with
such
himself,
a weird character, too.
Oh,
I
God,
love
he is.
Henry,
But
though.
no, I love Clint as Maki. It's one of the stronger performances in this dub. And I was very impressed with him, as well as I was very taken aback with the way the show presents and handles the character of Maki. Now, it's time, ladies and gent, for our two leading lovers.
Is it
It's time
It's time.
to talk about
It's time for the flower
Toko.
show.
It's time for flower power. It's time to talk about Toko Nanami and Yu Koito. Toko Nanami is a second year who eventually becomes the student council president, and Yu Koito essentially gets duped into being a member of the student council, as well as eventually getting some help with turning a guy down, only to get somebody else to fall for her in the process. So you close one door and you accidentally open up another. It's troublesome how that works. Did we have any predictions for these two characters?
Now, why would we have predictions for the two main characters, I ask you, Andrew?
Don't smart mouth me, Noah, and just say your shit.
I had some predictions, and I'm very mad at myself for it. And you'll find out why in a bit.
Megan?
I had predictions for Toko and Yu. For Toko, I had Margaret McDonald or Brittany Karbowski. And for Yu Koito, I had Juliet Simmons, and a bunch of people are actually going to be surprised I'm about to say this name. Maggie Flecknoe. She really turned me around on herself as my favorite little baseball lesbian in Review Starlight. I'm sorry if you ask me what my favorite song in all of Review Starlight is. It is the baseball duet.
It's a very catchy song. I don't blame you at all.
So would you say that she is now the Queen of Diamonds?
Go fuck yourself, Noah Clue.
Noah, I gotta say, you really struck out with that pun. The puns were never gonna end, people. Let's be real here.
No.
Noah?
Your puns are just foul, you know that?
Boo!
Alright, you're going in timeout until you tell me, who did you predict for Toko and Yu?
Well, now that you ask. Toko is, from her initial appearance, is a very calm, cool, and collected voice with a breathy voice to it. And the English voice actress, some of you may know her. Her name is Christina Kelly. Probably Megan knows her best as Claudine in Review Starlight. She's got that mature but still breathy and vulnerable voice to her that struck me as the kind of voice that I would see coming out of Toko from that initial scene where we see her politely rejecting the boy who wants to go out with her. Now, as for Yu, this is one that's going to go back way back in time to a name that you've probably heard before, but maybe for a show you haven't seen in a while. Her design, her personality, and everything about her Japanese seiyuu reminded me a whole lot of Duck from Princess Tutu.
Oh my god, holy shit, she does look like Duck!
Not design-wise, everything. Like, she looks a whole lot like her. Like, her hair goes in pigtails as opposed to a ponytail, but other than that, it looks like Duck. And Duck was voiced by Lucy Christian in the dub for Princess Tutu, and Lucy Christian can do a whole lot, so I'm like, I know that she can do this, so yeah, let's slot Lucy Christian as let's do this.
Lucy Christian.
I wanted Lucy Christian.
So close. But in the end, it didn't even matter. Because playing the role of Toko is one Lucy Christian.
How the hell did that happen?
And playing the role of Yu.
I did not see this coming.
None
other than Tia Ballard.
How the fuck did that happen?
David Wald's magic, that's why.
No kidding.
David Wald has friends in high places, and he can do what he wants with the snap of a finger and a twiddle of his nose. Lucy Christian has played such characters as Coconut Kokomine. Did you know she had a last name? Because I didn't know she had a last name.
Yeah, it wasn't important because it didn't tie into the butterfly metaphor from that episode.
She plays Coconut from Flip Flappers, Tsukasa Taira from Devil's Line, Hestia from Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
Yes, stop doing it! You will be sent to jail if you try to do that!
And Stella Vermillion from Chivalry of the Failed Knight.
Every single time you mention the goddamn show, I'm going to tell you stop doing it!
As for Tia Ballard, you've heard her as such characters as Nureha from Log Horizon, Raya Sanka from Sankareya, Megumi Shimizu from Shiki, and Rinko Yamato from My Love Story. Jet, you've been ever so patient. Would you like to start us off once more?
Sure. So I gotta say Toko is a very interesting character, to say the least. When we first meet her, we're given the impression that she's very mature for her age, and, that she has a very good head on her shoulders and all that. And that's very much how Lucy's performance comes out for, the first few episodes. Toko in the first couple of episodes is played, very relaxed and level-headed. And I thought that was pretty nice. But of course, as we get further into the show, it becomes apparent that Toko has, plenty of her own, things going on. And plenty of her own insecurities. And Lucy plays up those moments of vulnerability really well. While also managing to keep Toko's overall tone as natural as possible. And I also like how effectively she bounces off of Tia's performance. And the chemistry between their performances is pretty strong. And, as far as Toko's end of their dynamic goes, I really appreciate that while Toko is very, forward about how she feels, she doesn't come off as, predatory. And that seems like a strange distinction to have to make, but in a lot of these kind of stories, the aggressive one is usually, the one who comes off that way.
Basically,
so I really appreciate that they didn't do that.
Basically, they do not understand that no means no.
Yeah, Citrus had that problem.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really digging Lucy's performance so far. And, YUU, of course, is another interesting character, and it's very interesting to hear Tia play her. For my part, I'm using Tia Ballard in two flavors. Overly peppy and high-pitched like Happy the Cat, or sultry like Wit02 from Darling in the Franxx. YUU, on the other hand, is, just kind of an average teen, and Tia plays her with a very soft-spoken and natural tone that I'm not, super used to from her performances, and it's been kind of nice to listen to. And it helps that YUU's character in and of itself is, pretty fascinating, as she's clearly very interested in love, and, she spent a lot of time imagining that someday she'd just feel that romantic spark, only to find out, well, she doesn't, and, and even knowing that other people have feelings for her hasn't really, done much to change that. And while it's not something I can, relate to directly, I do know, that discovering that romance and attraction don't really work out the way you expect them to is, kind of a difficult thing. It's, kind of a difficult phase for a teenager to go through, and Tia plays off those feelings of, those feelings of introversion really beautifully, and it really helped me to feel for her, and I just really dug the character. And of course, once again, I just really like how the dynamic between her and Lucy really plays off. Especially how, how her more, kind of reserved tone plays off against Lucy, being a lot more straightforward. And it really helped to make both performances a lot stronger for me, so yeah, kudos to both these ladies. They're very good.
They are best girls.
But are they straightforward, though?
Might be a little crooked.
At best, they go both ways, I'm sorry.
No, you're not. No, you fucking are. Don't lie. Do not lie. We have a polygraph attached to your nuts. Don't lie.
I don't know why you chose to do this while I was talking. I'm the one who lives closest to you.
This is true, and I'll make sure to board my doors tonight. Anyways, while I'm getting the wood,
I just imagine
Megan.
Jet, showing up outside your house with, rope, duct tape, and, a PowerPoint presentation on how you're an awful person.
I'm just expecting him to get those bottles and do the thing from the Warriors.
Andrew, you said you're gonna get the wood.
Noah Clue, I would like you to know that we also have a polygraph strapped up to your nuts.
I'm not dating your daughter.
Hey, Jet, you want to take a drive down to...
Over to. You're not going down, you're going over.
Right. Anyways, Megan, please.
Men. We don't know what they did. No. So...
That is true. That is true.
Oh,
That's going to be written on men's gravestone.
We all watched AMV Hell where that's set to Love Hina.
God damn it.
Anyways.
Toko and Yu are such an interesting dynamic of characters, and I definitely did not expect Tia Ballard to be Yu, especially because, one, this was a Sentai dubcast, so I was thinking that they wouldn't have pulled it over, and I know that if you think that this cast is insane, wait till we do the episode on Tada. Holy bejesus. It's staring me right in the face. Jesus Christ, I have to bring this up. So, I really like that Jet brought up the lack of predatory nature between Toka and Yu. Because one of the things I really appreciate about Lucy Christian's performance as Toko is, that in a show that would be more fetishistic about their relationship, I'm saying this and, like, guys, I'm not knocking you if you're into citrus or anything like that. As I'm talking about this, I have a copy of 10 Count staring at me. If you know what happens in 10 Count, it makes citrus look tame. And it
also, citrus isn't the only thing with this problem. It's just the most recent example to point at.
Like, guys, like, it's not getting any type of simuldub, and I honestly don't know if Oniplex will ever dub this. Thankfully, it has, and one of my friends actually complained about this to us, or brought up this point, which was, everybody knows of the nice show about the guy who slays the Gerblins. That a lot of people were very quick to call Goblin Slayer garbage for its very, very badly depicted scene of sexual violence in episode 1, but she brought up the same point was, well, nobody's complaining about Daikachi and how, like, creepy and sexual harassing it is, and I'm like, that's because everybody knows to avoid it. And that everyone knows what Daikachi is. And this is a tangent, and Gerblin Slayer's another fucking trash fire that I'm not touching about.
Let's not go to Goblin.
Yes, your point, but Megan, is your point that expectations going into this can really determine what you think of
what you
in
think
the
of a performance? And one of the things that I like about, and I think the show itself does this, is that it does kind of have moments where you think that it's going to fall into, like, that wink wink nudge nudge, you're about to see two girls almost kiss, and you're gonna think it's hot, and you're gonna get turned on by this. But this show, especially Yu's character, really subverts, really kind of goes away from this. And an example of this that really kind of got me is, and I really like it about their performances, is how Yu can be, when she's dealing with Toko, being a dork, is that Tia's performance as Yu is very blunt and very, like, yeah, I know you're doing this because you're in love with me. I don't feel that back, and I'm terribly, like, I don't think she's sorry about it anymore, at least from episode 5. She's come to accept, like, yeah, this is my girlfriend. I'm in a relationship. She even says that in her own head. She's like,
says,
oh yeah, like,
taken.
I'm gonna go after,
technically.
Where, and the scene that I'm talking about is when they're in her bedroom, and for some reason Toko sniffs her bed. Like, that's the only weird thing in the series that's happened so far, is that Toko sniffs her bed.
I've only ever seen that done once in an anime, and unfortunately it was a hentai.
Oh!
What is it with, like, the smell of the scent thing, where it's like, oh, you smell...
Oh, this girl uses Downy, hell yeah!
Oh, that's what it is. All anime is just a secret fabric softener commercial.
But, no.
Dang, girl, you smell like the Tide Pods that were in my mama's jeans.
Oh, girl.
Okay,
girl,
like
you smell like the Cuddle Soft Bear.
To give a little bit of credence to this, Megan, the idea that
what I'm trying to
scent
get
is
to
very intoxicating to people is not a new thing. Like, it kind of makes the show dip from romantic to erotic at some points. Like,
but no,
nothing skeevy happens, but it's
that
more
putting
mature...
it's putting that expectation in your head. And the scene that I'm getting into is that it's like, my heart's racing right now. Do you want to hear it? And you think that, and even Toko thinks that she's gonna put her head on her chest, and she just holds her wrist. Goes, yeah, your pulse is really going.
That was so great. I love that.
Oh, that was such a good
And one
scene.
of the things I like about
Toko just got Yui'd so hard.
And one of the things I really like about
she got. It's not blue balled. What would it be in this scenario?
clam jammed.
Clam jammed. She got clam jammed.
Jet's here, like, yep, it's these fucking people again.
Jet, we love you.
But what
Look, I thought tacos for Jesus was gonna be the worst thing of the night, but nope, clam jam.
No spitting clams this night. But no, one of the things and to kind of bring this into how I feel about Lucy and you is that Lucy to me really does bring out this girl that is having her first time in love, and it's very puppy dog-ish, but it's also she's trying to be that perfect girl, but again, you have that in, I think it's in episode 3 or 4, where she does break down and she's like, let me be, I'm running away from my past. It's a bit like Stephanie Whittle's character in Tanaka, who became the perfect girl because she was lonely. And I think what really works is that it's Lucy being upbeat and Lucy being positive, but also being, like, teetering on this knife edge of utter romantic despair that is posed against Tia Ballard's innocence and almost jadedness to how romance is supposed to work. It's like sitting down and watching every Disney movie, but when you meet the guy of your dreams, there's no musical number, there's no fireworks, there's no lantern scene. You're just looking at another person. And everything that you've been told in your life through society and through media, and Toko kind of does this before she herself kind of becomes a hypocrite, if you think about it. Where Toko gives this big speech to you to give her the confidence to tell the guy no, to deny him, but yet she herself immediately falls into this trap and is now pushing that same expectation of her first love onto you, where she is just essentially given you the confidence to break that first love of another human being who happens to be male. And it's such a weird thing in a year where Tia Ballard plays a character that is almost the toxic antithesis to Yu Koito in 02. And their performances, obviously as characters, they're very different, but it's such an interesting dichotomy as somebody who watches dubs, and when you follow actors and actresses where you're looking at the types of characters people play. And obviously, actors have range and the ability to act for a reason. And I just think that you as a character for Tia Ballard is one of my all-time favorite performances of hers now, because it is so grounded in a place that you don't really get to see a lot of in anime. Obviously, there's the theories is you an asexual? Is you aromantic? Is you maybe demi-romantic, demisexual? And I really like that in Tia, that she is in the dark herself about her in the performance, where it's like you really feel it. And I've been talking a lot, and I feel bad because I feel like I've taken a lot of things from people, but one of the things I wish I could actually just spend, like, so much time railing the 02 versus YUU debate as characters, and why I think YUU is a better character than 02, but then again, that's another debate, and
that could be a whole podcast.
We're gonna have that, oh no, trust me, we're gonna have that civil war in about a week, so...
All I'm saying is, like, look, they are both Tia Ballard characters.
They're
and
both amazing.
literally
Yeah,
different
they're both amazing Tia Ballard performances. But I would say I think I like you a little bit better, and I think the character really helps that. And I think that Tia gets so many different facets and crevices to go in. And the other thing too is that there's obviously more growth that's going to happen. Like, we're 5 episodes into the show, and there's so much more to you that I don't think that Tia's even gotten to go into yet, which is so astounding to me. Like, another show that Tia did for Sentai was My Love Story, but I felt like from moment one that Tia knew who Rinko Yamato was, and that as a character, Rinko Yamato was such a static at times to the voice that you know for Tia for doing a little bit older but still cheery and peppy. You, in even 5 episodes, her character, her voice has really evolved. I mean, you in episode 1 was so very unsure, but by like episode 3, when she's interacting with other characters, she has this confidence as she knows what she's kind of getting herself into, and she's the much more mature. But anyway, go ahead, Noah.
Well, I'm glad. I was fully fine with letting you have more of the words on here, just from the standpoint of I believe, Andrew, Jet, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're the only one of us who are actually in the LGBT spectrum, so I'm
the only one on this episode who is in the B. Zenith is obviously TL. She's trans and a lesbian, so...
Right. Well, I just meant in this podcast.
Yeah, I am the only one that is.
Right, I'm sorry. We're the filthy heteros, I'm sorry. So
you're not you're not a filthy hetero, yeah.
We clean and use soap.
Like, there's no shame. Like, everyone's like, oh, you filthy hetero. Like, no, there's no shame in being who you are and loving who you love. It's when you're a bigoted dick towards minoritized sexualities, that's when you're an asshole.
So I'm glad that we got the perspective from someone who actually has those emotions herself. So thank you.
I think I kind of fall more into line with Maki than I do a bit. I am more Maki in the sense of how I viewed my world up into being obviously with my partner who's on this podcast. But even in a relationship, it is something where, like, obviously I fawn over him on episodes and I fawn over him between the two of us and I talk very fondly about him. But if you talk to me about my relationship, like, where a lot of people are like, look at my girlfriend to me. I'm like, hey, Roots, look at this Fire Emblem thing. Oh yeah, let's hold hands and hug with each other when we see each other in person, obviously, because we live far away from each other. But it doesn't really, like, change how I feel about him. Because I obviously love him.
And that's what the show is about. This show is about exploring a lot of different facets of romance. So I'll use this as an opportunity to transition to talking about the actors. Because even though I thought Lucy Christian was going to be the voice of YUU, her Toko is the one that I was at first afraid I was going to be the most critical of. Because, Toko's Japanese voice actress has this, what we in the business call a cool voice. She's a very archetypal senpai voice. And Lucy, from the first episode, does not give her that same type of voice. She has her Lucy big girl voice, but she still has a touch of her moe inflection in the back of the voice. So it's not as commanding, straightforward, professional as you would think. But then we find out by episode 2 that there's a good reason for that. Because Toko is not as cool as she comes off as. She's got a lot of insecurities about her that she's using YUU to cope with, because in trying to figure out what Toko's preferences are, what her sexuality is, where she fits in terms of romance, because she admits her heart has never gone doki doki before, and now that it finally is with YUU around, she can't let it go, they say that love is loving something more than you love yourself, and now that she's found it, she's getting a little possessive about it. Had Lucy given Toko a more commanding, more assertive voice, that may have come across as too overbearing, may have come off as rather territorial to the point of creepy and cringy. So I'm glad that Lucy's voice allows her to be vulnerable without sounding like that kind of overpossessive person that we kind of did get in Citrus, where you love someone, but you're also not treating them very well. Luckily, YUU balances that out by being a subversion of an archetype that I'm very glad that she did. So YUU is in most shows, like in most shoujo shows, is best exemplified by Usagi from Sailor Moon. Is this kind of klutzy, every girl who isn't very smart, isn't very assertive in herself, but she's just got that special something that, by golly, the universe just loves her. YUU has that special something in the sense that she makes Toko, feel for her, but she's not a pushover. She does not have she doesn't have to build confidence. She has some confidence going into the first year. Her difficulty in figuring out what it is that she wants in a romance, or like if she even feels romantic feelings, is an obstacle, but it's not something that she's going to fall over backwards because, like, for the first time, she's like, someone's actually paying attention to me. She actually admits in, I think it was like episode 5, she says she doesn't know if the reason that she's okay with their relationship is because she likes Toko, or if she just likes the fact that someone chose her. Like, she likes selfishly that somebody likes her, which is understandable. I think even if we're indifferent to people in our lives, the fact that anyone likes us or considers us our friends, that's a good feeling that we have. So there is, to Tia Ballard's YUU, there is an expectation I had going into it, and she doesn't quite fit it, and that's a good thing, because my expectation was that YUU was going to be more like an Usagi character. But Tia has a whole lot of range. Like, it goes from dreamlike at the beginning, where she's contemplating her feelings about romance, and then she gets more, like, she has more sass to her when she's actually speaking with characters and asserting herself. And she has, like, she laughs and giggles when they first go to her family's bookstore, and that's adorable, and I love that scene. And throughout the whole thing, like you said, Megan, Tia's performance kind of evolves as we're finding more about YUU. The fact that we have this archetypal view of what both YUU and Toko's kind of character should be like, and that we're not getting that in the show, I think is why a lot of people are having confused reactions about it. They're like, I am used to anime, which is very cliche. Anime has done a lot of the same things over and over again. We have expectations, and now that they're not being met, we're like, oh no, what do we do from here? Because you can't really have a whole lot of new stories, but you can have new presentations to it, and that's what this show does really well. So for Tia and Lucy, for subverting what I thought was going to go into both of these characters, and for bringing out the three-dimensional elements to all of their facets, be it scared, romantic, intrigued, angry, all of that. This is why I'm pretty sure that this show is going to, at the very end of the year, is going to go on my top 10 favorite shows seen in 2018. And that's a lot of rambling.
A lot of big words, but a lot of stuff that I definitely think for sure needed to be said. Mm-hmm. Starting off with Lucy as Toko. Toko is very much, she's casual, laid back, authoritative, but she is extremely earnest in the way she feels and the way she comes off. She starts out very much with the expectation that she is the cool, collective, beautiful senpai, but then the way you watch her gradually reveal herself and show herself, you show a lot of herself to YUU. You see a lot more of, like, her going through that puppy dog love attraction to YUU, as well as just actually opening up a lot of her vulnerability, insecurities that she really would not have trust showing to anybody else, which I think is really, really interesting. I think Lucy does a good job of just being that cool, authoritative person, but also being this huge dork who's kind of slowly realizing, oh shit, I have feelings, what do I do, how do I handle this? But also the way the character herself, like, deals with the fact that YUU does not feel this, like, strong electricity that she does, and she understands and is respectful. She just wants her to know that she loves her, and that she hopes she can at least support that, however, in whatever way, which it seems like it will work out for that. As for Tia as YUU, holy crap, Tia. I know she's a very capable and stellar actress through and through and through, but man, you're seeing all the sides to her in this. You see a lot of this doofy, ditzy schoolgirl voice, or at least this fake ditzy schoolgirl thing when she's interacting with her friends. as well as this much more melancholic, I think Megan said the word jaded, which I think is really perfect in that she is very much, she's trying to come to terms with the fact that she wants this love. She wants this feeling of adoration. She wants to be flying through the sky, her feet off the ground. But then when she is confessed to for the first time, her feet are perfectly still, and she realizes that it's just another moment and not this big ground-changing moment. But even then, even when she is bonding more with Toko, it is just something that she realizes she is not feeling things, and she's thinking, like, is that a thing that's wrong with her, or is that just something she's dealing with? And I think overall, like, Tia's performance as YUU really sells so much of this character for me. Like, she was already a very interesting character, but the dynamism in Tia Ballard's performance is spectacular, and I am pleasantly surprised with the decision to cast her as this character. And, like, it's so fascinating to see that, like, she is growing more, but that it's not such an easy solution that, oh no, we're in love, we're in lesbians now, we're gay, keep scrolling. No, it's just, no, it's really, really interesting to see how she grows with this and how she's coming more to terms with Toko and her with Toko. Lucy and Tia are very capable actresses. I think Lucy does a great job. I'm especially impressed by Tia Ballard.
No.
And I think with that, we can go into our final thoughts. I think a lot of what we've said has already been said, but I say, for the sake of this, let's go into our final thoughts regardless. Yeah. Jet.
So, like I said way back in the beginning, I was a little late to getting into this show, but I've definitely been enjoying it so far. I really appreciate how, like, laid back the tone is, and, you know, that it's just kind of, like, very pleasant and nice for a eerie thing, and not, you know, like, kind of, I mean, I, like, you know, like, it's not, like, super raunchy or anything, and I really appreciate that. And I definitely very much like the tone of the dub so far. It's pretty, it has a very laid back and natural tone, which I think Sendai stuff is, like, particularly good at, and I really like David and Marissa's work on it so far. It's been really strong. And, while I have a couple of issues with, you know, some of the minor performances here and there, I do think there's plenty of room for growth, and I really, really, really like the way the two lead actors are handling this, so I'm definitely going to be watching this one through to the end. So,
excellent.
Yeah, it's very nice.
So, as somebody who, like, man, I didn't want to fucking cry. I didn't want to cry to the lesbian show. Like,
but for all the good reasons.
It's good crying. Like, as someone who went through, like, a lot of time, like, not knowing what she really wanted out of a romance, and even, like, I keep saying, even though I'm with a guy, like, obviously it doesn't invalidate the fact that I'm bisexual, if biromantic or whatever the fuck it is, like I've honestly always openly joked, cause, like, one of my friends one time asked me, she's like, so Megan, are you straight or are you gay? And I think I like immediately looked my friend Emmy in the eyes and said, you ever seen that episode of SpongeBob where Patrick goes, the inner machinations of my mind are an enigma and the milk carton falls over? That's how I've described my sexuality for years.
That is a very Megan response.
That's it. So I actually have, like, a little button that says the inner machinations of my mind are an enigma. Because that's how I described my sexuality to her. And, like, I've actually been DMing Roots, like, the whole time, being like, please watch Bloom Into YUU and watch episode 4. Because that's about the best explanation of, like, how I felt before I started, like, how I feel outside of, like, dating somebody I'm incredibly emotionally attached to, which is obviously why, like, Roots is my partner. Why I refer to him as my partner over saying my boyfriend all the time. Except for when I'm around people who don't have the emotional capability of understanding that I use a gender-neutral term for my significant other. But that being said, I am so happy that this dub exists, because a lot of people, anime is becoming a lot more mainstream, and so is the idea that we can tell LGBT stories. And a lot of people have this weird notion, unfortunately, or have a very closed-minded view that anime cannot tell LGBT stories, or that there is no place for LGBT characters and LGBT stories to exist unless they are relegated to the realm of being a fetish. Which, and, like, obviously, I'm old enough and have a memory that is not a goldfish to remember how many people got utterly pissed that Yuri on Ice got really popular, and the reason was, oh, it's all because that crowd who only likes gay things picked it, and how dare it beat ReZero, a hetero show, and yada yada yada. But this isn't the place.
What's ReZero? Never heard of it.
Honestly, it's probably a good anime. It's just an anime that has a lot of tropes that I'm just fucking tired of. But
fair enough.
But Bloom Into YUU and its dub is honestly, if not one of the best dub casts that Sentai has put out this year. It's up there as one of the best dubs that they've made over the last year or two, which is saying a lot. This dub is fucking beautiful, from its casting to its writing to how much love and care that Sentai and High Dive, who's streaming it, puts into it. And honestly, it sucks that you can't really give it like the My Hero Academia hook, other than to just say, this is an anime that's going to matter to somebody down the line. This is an anime that I think I said I felt the same way about Yuri on Ice, where the story that's being told about YUU and TROYCA is going to help some poor kid get through their life. And the fact that Sentai took the massive risk to dub this and is amazing. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is there's been, like, I guess it's like an anime tracker poll that goes on Twitter. As of this week, Bloom Into YUU is the number one anime on that list. Bloom Into YUU is the number one anime.
It's the little show that could.
It's the little anime that could. And the fact that I think it's number 2 is Zombieland Saga.
Zombieland Saga,
to which, sorry to spoil this, has a transgender character.
Yeah, we're
an honest to God transgender. Like, we didn't talk about this on the Zombieland episode because we actually didn't know about this.
No.
Like, we're living in a season that has an anime that depicts a healthy relationship, or the healthy-ish attempts at a relationship between two girls, and an Idols show with a trans character in it. God bless 2018. The dub is great. Please watch it. This dub is hopefully going to be out in a nice limited edition and will be preserved for the young LGBT / just anime fans who need help, and this is going to bring great comfort to them. I'm sorry this episode is going so long, Noah.
No, that there was like, okay, you say there's no hook for this show.
I will take a limited, if it's not a limited edition, I will take David Wall just walking up to my door and giving it to me.
Deliver my copy personally.
You hear that, David?
Mm-hmm.
This man.
God damn it. Okay, Noah, please continue.
No, I'm like picturing it now, like this entire fanfic where David like gets on a boat, then gets on a plane, then takes a Da Vinci hang glider, all to get to your front door just to hand deliver the very first copy of Bloom Into YUU.
God damn it. I kind of like that image. Shut up.
Technically, it should go to Zen first, not us.
At the anyways, so
no.
Yeah, almost all of the things I said about the dub have already been said in this episode. So I want to end this off by just talking a little bit about why this struck me so much, because I've been jaded on some romances before. Like, there have been some really good romances I've watched this year that didn't quite strike me as strongly as they should have. Like, I really liked Snow White with the red hair. I really liked it. The romance didn't quite do it as much for me as it probably did for other people. This show really did, though. Like, this show reminded me what it's like to be in love for the first time. A good chunk of that is because of the writing and direction, and an equal part of that is because of the direction. I love shows like this where they are kind of heavy-handed in the visual imagery, but it's so much fun to watch. It's the kind of thing that you can only do because it's drawn. Like, there are transitions that happen that are impossible to do in live action that emulate the feelings that Yu has. Like, she has a whole lot of drowning imagery. Episode 1, she's in underwater, separated from her friends' desk. In another episode, she's like sinking to the bottom of the water. A lot of that where you don't have to say anything, but that image portrays exactly the sensation of not being able to overcome the obstacle, which in this case is feelings of romance, or not even getting romance to begin with. So that strikes me in a way that I just commend the studio for that, and is equally matched by how David and Marissa really understood this. That is the highest thing you can say about the staff on a show, is that they understood it. They understood the strength in characters coming to grips with any feelings of romance for the first time, not always making the best decisions, but going along with it because they're learning and also getting to feel those slight emotions at the same time with them. So yeah, speaking as a heterosexual person who is not going to be able to relate to it on the same LGBT level, I can still definitely relate to it on an emotional level, on a young love level that I have not felt in a show in a very long time. If there's a LE out there, I will get it too. I will even fly to David Walt's house firsthand to go get a copy myself.
I don't think you need to fly to David Walt's house.
I will. Okay, fine. I will parachute to the Sentai Studios to pick up a copy.
That's better. Maybe? I don't know. Anyways,
Iowa's technically closer, so I could go to Right Stuff's warehouse, and maybe that would be easier.
Please don't steal from Right Stuff. Please don't.
No. Just
anyways,
never mind.
So I'll just make this. There's a lot that has been said about this show already, so I'm just gonna take a quick second to say something that will probably be repeated in a few other episodes down the line. Thank you, Sentai, for taking the risk. Thank you, David Wald, for being the man. Thank you, Marissa Lenti, for making these characters and this story come to life. Like, say what you will, it's still kind of a risk to do, like, boys love, girls love kind of dubs in anime and stuff. Or at least the people who think it's not as important or not as big deal, or the ones that do get dubbed are either like have some issues or there's a lot of creepy fetishistic stuff and stuff. But just a genuinely like really good like LGBT love story and a love story dub is absolutely commendable, and to give it the level of quality, care, and love that was shown in Bloom Into YUU impresses me a lot. Thank you to all parties involved. I really like this show. I really like this dub. I highly recommend it. It's very much, if you want a really good romance story, you want a really good pretty story, a really good high school story, it is a really good story that is absolutely worth your time. And if you would like to watch Bloom Into YUU, you could watch it over on High Dive, which, if you would like to get 50% off of your first month subscription, you can use the code DubTalk2018.
I forgot we have a code.
We have a code and we are going to use it. But yes, it is available on High Dive or recent Verb subscriptions. That is where you can watch the dub or sub of this show, regardless of your preference of language. This is absolutely a show that I feel is worth your time. And if you would like to follow us, we are the Dub Talk Podcast. You can find us over on YouTube, which you're hopefully watching now, at Dub Talk Podcast. You can find us over on our Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Twitch channels. And would you beautiful people like to plug yourselves? Thank you very much.
Okay, so very quickly, you can find me on Twitter at Divinega or Jet0 at DubTalk. I will usually be talking about cartoons and stuff. You can also occasionally find me on my blog Animation Infinity, where I might sometimes be writing stuff. And you can also occasionally listen to me on another Podcast O&A, where we just kind of shoot the breeze and talk about anime news. And yeah, I guess that's basically it.
Alright. Megan?
You can follow me at QueenEra2 on Twitter. I shitpost. Sometimes, occasionally talk about how I love Roots of Justice, but mostly shitpost. And cry about Fire Emblem Heroes fucking me over. But you can also hang out with me on the Funimation Discord and forums.
Noah?
I have a Twitter channel. Not a channel. What am I talking about? I have a Twitter account at Noah Clue, where all manner of the
Noah runs Twitter.
I would run that.
It would
channel.
probably work better.
Shit!
I would run Twitter into its golden age. We would have we would have hookers and blow every day. It would be great.
And the Nazis would be banned.
And yes.
Ayo!
That is not getting cut. If that made you mad, you're in the wrong place, my friend. Anyway,
Damn right.
anyways, mostly I talk about animation, just thoughts about new things coming up, or like I live tweet the shows that I've been watching. What am I watching right now? I'm in the middle of finally finishing up The World God Only Knows, which has taken me all year to finally finish.
Haikyuu next.
What's that?
Said Haikyuu next.
I've got a whole backlog here.
No, he has a certain other thing he needs to be
I
doing
have an
right
entire backlog.
IQ's gotta become my...
There's
What is he supposed to be doing?
Probably gonna become my gym show.
Got this thing here. Look, I have.
now. Is that what, we can't talk about the thing he's supposed to be doing, but there's the thing he's supposed
There
to
is.
do.
But
tell
so
me
I have
after
400
this.
pages of unwatched shows to watch here. Haikyuu is on like page number 278. It's on there somewhere. We'll get around to it eventually. Also, speaking of things I need to get around to eventually, I also have a YouTube channel, which is Journey Traveler. Not sure what's going to come of that just yet, but in an alternative dimension, it is the premier place for all discussions of animation, both present and old, east and west, all over the place. If I didn't have a full-time job and responsibilities to actually be a productive member of society, I would be making more stuff for that. We'll see what comes of that.
And as for me, my name is Andrew, aka Classy Spartan. You can find me over on Twitter under the username MangaMan9000. You can find me over as a moderator over Funimation forums and Discord, as well as another member of Jet's podcast O&A on Surreal Resolution. Anyways, that being said, I think it's time we call it a night. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Good night. I don't have a good segue for this. Thank you, David Wald. If you have made it through almost 2.5 hours of this, you are already another amazing god among men. Have a great night.
Sorry I cried.